Hey, welcome to this night's episode of Shark Tank Season 8, Episode 8. Sorry about that beginning, but we will get ourselves going. We've got Milk Snob, Jack Stands In, Marketplaces, Tour, Cilantro, and Rent Like a Champion for an update. Don't go away.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
As we come in, as you're getting up from under the table.
You just have to service things.
The headphones.
The headphones, yes. Zoe!
Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's episode of Shark Tank After Show. We are so glad to be here. We're glad you could be here with us. We are in the chat room. If you would like to be there as well, you can obviously listen and watch otherwise. So I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. And sitting directly to my left
is the lovely Chris Howard. And you know what? I think that I'm going to try to follow along on this chat thing and do actually some social media at the same time as being totally connected with the audience. So I'm going to give this a go. So you can write on YouTube channel and I'll see if I can pick it up too. But reach out to me during the show at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram. And let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah, CHL. This is Constance Dunn. It's great to be here with you. You can join me at Instagram, Constance Dunn, Twitter, Constance Dunn.
Now,
Is Constance done?
She is
Oh,
done.
yeah, okay. Can we move on?
We were trying to.
Oh, sorry.
So,
Okay.
Milk Snob
Yes.
is first into the tank. Melanie, 125,000 for 5%. Whenever I hear these small percentages at the beginning, I get a little bit nervous.
For that much money.
For any
Right.
amount of
Right.
money.
For any amount of
when
money.
I hear they only want to offer a small percent. But basically, this is a car seat cover canopy that can also be used as a nursing cover. So it's a 2-in-1, essentially.
I liked it.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on it there.
You jumped. You were excited. I'm glad you were
No,
excited.
I
What
liked
did you
it.
like so much?
Just that it was stretchy and it covered the thing, and I liked that it could be utilized for when we breastfeed. I liked all those things.
Constance, did you have any thoughts?
Well, I think it was easy to understand, and this is one of these neat pitches. It's easy to understand, it makes sense, and she also has a really nice record of sales,
Yes.
and it all makes sense. 500,000 in 8 months. She does social media only, so it's exciting to potential investors as well because you see a lot of promise, and then of course you see as an investor, I think what gets people excited is their idea to be creative and be part of the continued success. So they had it all. She had it all.
And I had 800,000 for 5 months. Was it 500? In 5, she's made 1.2 million in 18 total.
Yes.
That's what I
18
got.
months, right.
So, but regardless, she's made a lot of money.
Yes.
She's selling these for $36 retail. It only costs $7.60. So,
Insane. Yeah, no, it's just a really neat business, and she had so much going for her. I'm surprised that people didn't jump on it even more.
Yes, I
You
think
know?
it had to do with the category. So you know how they get into areas, if you're comfortable with it, you'll go
Right.
for it. I know with Chris, there was some affinity for it as well. So
He was hot.
so Chris Sacco is back in the tank.
Right.
We haven't seen him at all this season, I don't think. So I'm glad. I love him. And he knew this product. He said his wife was familiar with it. His wife had just shown him the product recently. So
Yes.
he was so excited.
It did, like, I was surprised that she didn't give him more attention. Like, she was totally. I didn't think at any moment that she was going to go with Chris Sacca, even though he came right out the bat, gave an offer. Mark jumped out because he thought Chris's offer was so good.
Yes, me too. And I couldn't figure out why she wasn't more excited to have someone who was so passionate about her.
Right.
But you had a theory, Constance.
Lori, because Lori is exciting immediately. Lori knows this is her niche, women's products, baby products, retail, this type of touchy-feely type of thing. And Chris he was interesting because they're kind of going back and forth, and he was intimating, if you saw the episode, he was intimating that he was kind of more with the program because he was more adept at social media, and he goes, this is not QVC. Come on, you're part of QVC. They still sell VCRs.
That was funny.
Good point. But Lori was just like, you don't even know what I do. You have no, so clearly there was a BBD there, bigger, better deal.
I was like, what's a BBD?
Bigger, better deal.
Is this a real term or a Constance term?
It's a constant term.
She
and it
called
might
me
be-
the same thing before the show. I don't know what she's talking about, but
That's a real term.
no, but it was interesting because Lori did seem to know what she was talking about when she said
Yes.
you need to hit this fast
Yes.
and get it out to market because people are going to knock you off, and so they needed to gain brand dominance before somebody else did. Yeah.
So I might be in the minority here then. dominance or not, because I didn't love this, and I'll
Really?
tell you why. I don't like anything that I have to pull over my head because you mess up your hair. So
But that's
like,
just when you're breastfeeding.
no, in general, like, you know, like we wear these headphones.
Right.
You mess up your hair. If you have, you know, anything like a sweatshirt, I don't like sweatshirts that have to pull over my hair versus a zip-up sweatshirt.
But the only time you
specifically.
would put this on is if you wanted to breastfeed. That's what they said.
Like 1,000,000 times a day.
You want to breastfeed 1,000,000 times a day.
Well, your baby might want to. You might not want to.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if you got a baby sucking at the teat, who cares about your hair? No, I just
I'm
keeping
not
it real.
clear why you can't care about both. Because, okay, let's say then you're in a restaurant. So in her example, the thing goes over the car seat.
Right.
So you've got it over the car seat. You go into your restaurant. You're all ready to sit and eat. Wow, wow, wow. Baby's crying. You're like, oh, great. I also have my nursing cover. So you take it off the car seat. But then you have to pull it over and mess up your hair as you nurse. And then it goes over again. You're making a face, but Constance, are you with me? Do you like to wear sweatshirts that go over your
would
head? I like the zip up.
There's an immediate and instant ban on anything that has to get pulled over my head.
Exactly.
Like you would, but maybe there's a situation where maybe it has a really big opening, so it doesn't, you know, destroy the.
That's what it kind of looked like. I
the
mean, it has to
sassy
have.
do.
It has to have a big enough neck to be able to expand because you're putting the baby underneath it.
Well, she showed it that it's stretchy and the baby is going under.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just think it's kind of weird to worry about your hair if you got a baby hanging off your.
I don't
breast.
understand why you can't worry about
They're
your hair
not mutual-
while you have a
Why
baby.
would
They're
your
not
hair
mutually
matter?
exclusive. One
Really?
could have gorgeous hair and
And
still
a
be
baby.
breeding the little bambino under there.
I guess men and women are just
I
different.
think what Chris is trying to say is if you got a baby on your boob, they think you're off the market.
It has nothing to
See?
do with off the market. I just want to point out that for anyone who's
Is that your hair?
okay,
the hell is that?
for anyone who's watching, not just listening, Chris here is wearing a hat. He's wearing a baseball cap tonight, and the reason I bring this up
'Cause
is
I don't
because
care about
right
my
before,
hair.
but you do, because right before the show started, we took a photo together, and I said, "Oh, Chris, you should take off your hat so that we can see you better in the photo," and you said, "I can't because of my hair." So.
All
Okay,
right,
yes.
Would that
touche,
have been
touche.
acceptable if you had a baby at your breast?
Well, I think this goes to a
Hey,
major.
and I don't think I haven't. Anyway,
This
okay.
goes to a major difference between men and women. that
Right.
Sometimes there's the idea that, and men can understand this, that when you look good, you feel good and
Yeah.
you perform better. Same with
get
women.
that.
When I look good, I feel good, I perform better. So sometimes when I'm just working at home, I'll always like brush my hair and
So you
usually
think if your
dress
hair is done,
nice.
like you'll pump better?
Well, I'm just taking it out of the baby realm.
Right, it has nothing to do even
Right,
with
right,
baby.
Sorry, I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw you for a spin there.
Right.
So,
But
I
it
think
is
we've
interesting. We're not
beaten-
trying to beat him up too much.
Yeah,
but
thanks
we
a
Of course
lot.
we are.
Yes,
And
of
I
course
think
we
we've
are.
beaten this baby to death.
Oh!
But can we just say
Yes,
one thing
please
about
do.
her presentation?
Yes,
Because this
yes.
is important. If you're a shy or introverted person, it doesn't mean that you can't be a great presenter. And I think she was a really great example of this because she was shy and introverted. And she
said that.
mentioned something about it, not in a violin-y way. She just mentioned it. She kind of owned it and immediately warmed everybody to her. I could see their response to her. So just don't feel like things like this are off limits to you if you are a shy or introverted person.
And I think that right there was our tank tip for this
Tank
pitch.
tip.
So last week we tried something out with our Shark Tank tip that after every
It
single...
was called Just the Tip, and she didn't like that.
It was not actually called that. And so basically after...
Never call anything that.
And so basically after every single pitch, we wanted to come up with what was the takeaway. But we realized that what we were doing was more of a synopsis. So I think we're changing the name a little bit. We'll tweak it. We'll
Okay,
keep working
if you have
on
a
it.
good name, Fantasy Stats Guru, if you have a good name for us, please let us know what you think. So Tank Tip was what we were
I
looking
think
at?
our tank takeaway, I think,
Tank
is what this really
takeaway.
is. So I think
So
Constance
it's not going to be
just-
called Just the Tip anymore.
It never
Okay,
was.
are you gonna try
Okay,
to?
So,
it's going to be
right
it's not
before-
gonna, Tank Tip,
and-
Tank Takeaway.
Right before we're in or out fantasy
All right.
stats, thank you for joining us in the chat, by the way. It
Yes,
says,
fantasy
it's not
stats.
only females who are looking for a mate who want to have nice hair. So true. So, Constance, are you in or out?
Oh, I'd be in.
Okay.
In.
Out.
Okay.
I don't like that it has to go over my hair. So,
I liked it.
let's move on.
Well, no one's gonna care about your hair if you got a baby. You can just kill yourself. You might as well
Yeah.
just shake your
Listen,
head.
listen, you're out of the market, Zoe.
Might as well just use a paper bag and just apparently throw a hole
Nobody
in the
cares
ground.
about you anymore.
You just forget you. Forget
You had a good life, and now
And then you had a kid.
you're out.
You guys are so funny. So,
I see our
Jack
video, like I can
stands-
watch us on there, but I'm not getting the little people that say things. Are you getting that underneath that?
Why, yes, I am. That would be called the chat.
The chat.
So I am in the chat. So,
If you have anything to say to us, please do.
Be one of the little people that say things.
if you want to talk about Chris Howard and his child that he breastfeeds all the time, feel free to
jeez.
make a
All
comment.
right. Yes,
Okay, Jack stands on Marketplace. We have Jack, who is 10 years old, or possibly 9, because I definitely heard multiple ages during this pitch. He was looking for $50,000 in exchange for 10%. And basically, this was just a stand. I mean, correct me if you guys...
Are we talking about the...
We're talking about the kid. There was only one.
Little Jack. Jack stands. Remember Little Jack from Denver, Colorado?
Something happened and I didn't see Jack.
Oh,
What?
it's okay.
I didn't see
You'll
Jack,
like
did it?
this. You'll like this, though.
No, okay, yeah, please share it, because somehow I watched the whole episode, but Jack wasn't on mine. I
Maybe
didn't see
someone
Jack.
hijacked it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, go.
Basically, he wanted to buy a Lego set
Uh-huh.
when he was about 8, and his dad told him save the money, so he opened a lemonade stand, and he somehow has monetized this into a stand that's now in a couple of malls as well, where kids can sell things. He has, let's see, 7 locations total, but this product to me was not really a product. What
Was
did
he
you
making
think,
money?
Constance? Not really. He's made $15,000, but he owes. He still owed. Where is it in my notes? He had a loan for $5,000 and 60% paid back.
Yeah,
so
so he's got quite a bit. And
He
this was very much positioned as something where you could, as a little one, or if I'm the parent of a little one, teach them about entrepreneurism and selling and all that. And the idea is that I would get, as the little consumer, 10 to 15% commission. So this
Was it like baked goods and that type of
well,
thing, or was
you'd
it just
set
any
it
type
up
of food
for
items?
me. For instance, they would set the whole thing up for you.
Right.
So
You take 85%, they take 15% for having it at their stand?
right. Well, they're going to set up the stand for you and make everything pretty. So
that's why the whole thing was confusing. And then Jack said he'd have to be there to train people. So I guess it's the equivalent. So you've got your lemonade. Correct me if I'm wrong. So you've got your mall stand. You have your lemonade. You go. He tells you how to sell
So
lemonade.
he's going to show you how to make your lemonade stand make money.
I guess.
yeah,
I mean,
but there's other little things as well.
Yeah.
How old is he?
10
And
or
he's-
9
And he's making
or
money, and he's
11.
got a $5,000 loan
Yeah.
that he's paid partially off. I mean, that is impressive.
It
I
was
can't see
impressive.
anybody investing in it, but
So
it's impressive.
he started with $1,000. I think it was from his dad, and $1,000 from his parents. He did pay that back. He got a loan from a bank, the only bank in America that loans specifically and only to children.
Cute.
He
How
got a
cool is
$5,000 loan. It is 60% paid back at this point. He did get an offer, and it was from Chris, who said, "I can't let this great presentation go without something." So clearly, let's face it, a little bit of a pity offer,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it wasn't a good offer.
Or
And
maybe
I-
a cheering offer. You
but
know,
it wasn't.
What did he offer?
He offered a $50,000 loan with 2% interest. However, he would have to take it at $10,000 at a time. So $10,000, pay that back. He could have another 10. So the interest is better at only 2%. But Chris
That's
wasn't
a
really
gift.
offering.
2% interest is nothing.
That's a gift. And-
compared to what he'd get if he had to go.
At
I
a
mean,
bank, right.
if you had an entrepreneur that was going out to launch a business, they're going to have to get like 18% interest,
Right.
something ridiculous.
right.
So this I see it as a gift. I see that as being pretty
The
cool.
2% is a
Right.
gift.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
didn't feel, I don't know. It still didn't feel great to me.
It's hard
Yeah.
to commit to much more, because to commit to a 10-year-old who's, I mean, he's a 10-year-old, he's still in school, he's still got,
And that's what the Sharks were saying.
Yeah.
That basically, like, we want someone who's going to be involved, and
Right.
you can't be involved. And I think it was Lori who said, "I'm not telling you that you should drop out of school, but we need someone who can work."
right.
Yeah, and there's also just something to let you know that the locations that he currently has, he has 2 in a mall, and then there's 5 other locations, and a lot of them
Yeah.
are in farmers markets. So if that makes sense, it's a lemonade stand.
It's a-
It's
it's a-
basically a franchise of a lemonade stand for children.
Yeah,
Does
exactly.
that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally
Yeah.
makes sense. And I think the offer, actually, I'm 100% on board for it. I think Chris Sacca was doing it to. It's
Yeah.
almost like here's my philanthropic contribution
Yes.
to honor and to gift you something because you've done so well. 10 years old, that's amazing.
But then I guess I just felt like maybe
like
if
a
he had
reward.
taken equity instead, then the kid who's 10 doesn't now have a $50,000 debt.
But it's kind of taking
And-
advantage of a kid who's 10 years old, where you're not going to contribute that much, and then you got somebody who's going to be hanging on like a tag-along for, and the kid could go anywhere.
But then
in
it's
his
not
life.
taking advantage. It's that he's scared of getting a hang-along.
Well, it
right?
kind of. I mean, but it's like you don't know what you're getting. When that 10-year-old could, find girls at 11 years old, and then the business is gone, and now you're invested with somebody who's.
But how is this different?
Well, because it's showing the child the young entrepreneur. It's just showing Jack how to take on even more, because he was doing well and paying down the first loan. How to take on loans in incremental amounts and pay them off and develop a good character and temperament for business. I think it's neat. I think it's
And he was adorable because his father was helping him out quite a bit, and afterwards he just said that his heart like leapt when he got an offer, and so that was great.
Cool. Yeah.
And he's 10. Imagine him at 20, 30, 40. I mean, he was just beyond adorable, and I think everybody felt that way too. Just really cute as a button.
And he's obviously getting some results. He's doing something which is kind of neat. Yeah, that's.
He is, and
I wasn't doing that at 10 years old.
And now I'm feeling bad. I'm not I'm not
You're like, don't give him
down
the
on
money.
Jack.
Of course you're not. Not at all.
So excited about Jack. And Fantasy Stat says that it was actually Kevin who's the one who says, I'm
Kevin
not telling you to drop out of school. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh.
So he did get the deal. And you know what I realized 2 of these deals in now? This was the first episode I can think of where all 4 get deals too. So I feel like that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Nice.
So do you guys have any, do you have a tank takeaway, either of you?
Tank
You're
takeaway.
never too young.
Never too
Good
young.
one.
And
Yes.
never too young, and they say never too old.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
never too
true.
young and never too old.
So Constance, are you in or out?
I would be out.
Okay.
I'd be out, but I'm behind Sako 100%.
Yeah, me too. I'm out from an investing standpoint,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
totally in from an I love Jack standpoint.
Yeah.
Right.
We should get T-shirts.
Let's make those.
love
You're
it.
in charge.
Okay.
So right before we get into number 3, which was Cilantro.
Awesome delegation on your part, by the way. Let's
I'm
make those.
delegated.
You're in charge. Yeah, you just delegated the T-shirts to me.
Thank you. Let's see if that delegation works.
job.
So right before we get to number 3, Cilantro, let me just remind you, please hit that thumbs up button. You can subscribe to us. If you are listening to us on iTunes, you can write a review and say how awesome we are. You can let us know if you like our tank takeaway or if you prefer a
Tank
different
takeaway.
name.
Come up with a name. Let us know.
Come up with a
We need
name.
your names.
And of course, if you leave a message for us in the comments of the video, then we will check back and we will respond. So Cilantro, we had Jay who wanted $600,000 in exchange for 15%. I made a note. I really liked him. Basically, he had a Korean barbecue food truck. He expanded it. He tried 3 times to get onto Shark Tank. So 3rd time was the charm for him. He now has a fleet of trucks as well as 3 restaurants. So, and everyone loved the Korean barbecue. So I kind of felt like, Jay, if you happen to be in the LA area, I love Korean barbecue.
Oh, we could try that. He could come here on the show and we could make Korean barbecue too.
Please, I hope you're listening.
Jay.
Yes.
And Joe Kim has been, this is not his first night at the rodeo. He has had other businesses. He's been in business, and he talked quite openly about the failure of one of his first businesses, where he said he didn't have a vision on his first business. And that was pretty interesting. I mean, this is a takeaway for all of us, that importance of a vision. So it's not all just Instagram memes and, you know, up with people type of cliches. There's something important.
Without a vision, the people perish. That's not just a cliche. That's biblical common sense.
Wait, did you call him Joe or Jay?
Joe.
Okay.
I think it's Jay.
I think it's Jay. Yeah.
Oh, Jay Kim.
See, what you would have
Okay. His
said,
last
what you
name,
were saying
yes.
there had so much value, except you got the name wrong.
But you're
So just ignore it.
but you are absolutely right. I agree, and I thought it was very good that he realized too that the whole problem with his first business, which problem is relative considering it did put him through college and it did give him a savings
That was a good
account.
reframe. Who said that? That was Mark that said that. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Commented that out.
So yes.
Right. I mean, if he wanted to be an actor, it would have funded his whole career.
Yes, he could have been like, you know, just acting away
You would have
with
been.
Brad
You would have
Pitt.
been with Constance tonight at class.
No, what?
You went to your acting class tonight.
Oh yeah, were you at your juggling class?
No, he was breastfeeding.
No, I would have been at the acting class if I wasn't breastfeeding. No, okay. Anyway.
So, do you guys love Korean barbecue as much
Yes,
as I
I
do?
love Korean
I love meat.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, but there's meat in there.
But
There's,
the only question I have is, this was essentially to me like those bibimbap bowls. I didn't know if there was something
or
different.
like
Proprietary.
the what do they call it? The
Bibimbap.
Mongolian kitchen.
No, that's different. The Mongolian barbecue is where they make it on the big
It's similar.
stone.
Yeah.
It's not at all similar.
All right. You put the
Mongolian
stuff
barbecue
in a
is
bowl
made
and
with
you-
noodles and it's all mixed
Okay,
together on the
the
big
only thing that
stone.
was different was
Korean
you didn't
barbecue
cook it,
and
right.
bibimbap is specifically on rice, and it's like usually sectioned
So
off.
good.
It's all the same to me.
So good. And
Except
Chris,
it's not. Yes.
and Chris said it was some of the best food he's ever had.
Right.
This is
Yes.
a guy who's probably eating all over the world, what have you.
They all said that. They all loved the food.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
And
Which
Mark said it was
surprises
spectacular.
me. It really surprises me because it sounds like a good bit. How about it was like 4.7 million he was doing
Yes.
already in revenue?
4.7 million last year. He said he's making 300 to 400 from the trucks and 1 to 1.5 from the restaurants.
Right, 3
and
restaurants,
He also
yeah.
has more restaurants on the way, 2 more on the way.
And his projections were 6 million, right, in sales?
Yes, 6
Yeah,
million
6 million
this
that
year.
year.
And it was interesting because one of the sharks said, to him, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
And that's really neat if you can get to the point in your life when everything that you're
Right.
going to say yes to is just so amazing and exciting. That
Or it
you're
fits perfectly into your investment strategy, what you would have. Yeah.
Right, because there's a lot of investments
And
out
that
there.
was
But
something
it's a
Kevin
good
said.
business.
Right. Kevin said he just isn't into restaurants,
Right.
and so it wasn't the food. It was just not so much into.
I get that, and that's one of
So-
the things that they say in pitching is like whenever you're going to go in and pitch investors is you want to make sure that they purchase the types of things that you're
Right.
pitching, sell the right thing to the right person. Yeah.
Right, which I mean is something that I feel like we talk about a lot. Did they make the right deal with the right shark?
Right.
Even just now talking about Lori versus Chris for the
Yeah,
listing
just
cover.
there, just there.
Just
yeah.
right that. So he did get an offer from Barbara, who offered 600,000 for 30%.
Yes.
She said she really knows that space. And if you guys don't remember from past updates, Barbara was the investor with the cousin's brother. Now I can't remember if it's brothers or
The
cousins.
cousin's brother's
cousins,
sister?
right? The Maine Lobster that wears a food truck. It's expanded. That's gone to 51 million in
51
revenue. So
million.
unbelievable. So Barbara offered. She said she knows that space well. She can definitely do it. Jay did counter with saying 30% was high. Would she do 20%?
That was great that he did
said
that.
yes. Or he said yes to the 20%. She said yes to the 20%. Everyone was happy. There was a big hug. There was a little bit of an awkward moment at the end. Did you guys catch that? When he gave her the hug, which she had wanted,
Something
he lifted her up and it pulled her
her skirt
dress
went up?
up. And I
She's
think,
funny.
and so
Yeah.
I've had that happen to me. So I really felt the embarrassment.
And she was funny. She did a little funny like drama
Kinda
thing about
slapped
it,
him.
like
Oh,
a
you're
joke.
terrible. Yeah.
I really like her. I follow her on Twitter, and she has a great
She's funny.
Twitter.
She's-
She puts a lot of great tips, and I just enjoy
She's
her quite a
quirky.
bit. And she's a self-made woman.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite for sure.
Yeah.
Now this was really neat. I thought it was a great business. I'm surprised he didn't get more. I get that they don't like that business, but it's really a spectacular business because when you think about it, what's the overhead on a truck versus having to have a storefront, having to have a restaurant?
But I think
he had
what-
3.
But one of them did make that point, and now I don't know which one it was specifically. It might have been Chris, I think, who
Yeah.
said that was exactly with the restaurants. That's what made him nervous. That when he's been in the restaurant space before, like Veggie Grill is his
Veggie
biggest
Grill.
one,
Right.
that it was taking essentially a new product to introduce to people. That people weren't used to eating all vegetarian like this.
Right.
Whereas this is not a new product. There's nothing unusual about it other than it
So he was
tastes
afraid
good.
that other people would come and compete with them.
I think he said like it's not unique and that
Right.
the storefront, one of them, and I don't remember if it was Chris in particular who did say it, but
Right.
they were nervous to invest in
He
restaurants.
thought that there
where
was
you're
no
stuck
barrier to
one
entry for other
spot.
people. Yeah, that's
Right.
So, also, they didn't talk about it, but I loved the name Cilantro.
Yes.
I thought that was
That's pretty
awesome.
good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, so do we have a takeaway for this one? I just loved him. I thought he was so
I
friendly.
think it's about pitching to the right people, taking the right type of investment to the right type of people. Because if this was lined up with the right investors, he would have done incredibly well. The business is a solid, strong business.
This is just something I noticed about him is that he talked a lot about doing everything for his mother and his sister, and he's very family centric and just seemed like a really great guy. And I think that there's always a place for bringing forth your quest, right? So in a pitch, you can see people's eyes light up. I mean, provided everything else is in order, your financials, et cetera, and your offering, it never hurts to put forth, and not as a point of trying to manipulate, but just so people understand what you're about. And I think that he put that forth very well.
Yes, I agree. I think and Barbara said that about him. She said you're a straight shooter. I like that. So
I also like the fact that he came back out and he said he did the counter offer, because we talked about counter offers before and should you counter or not. And here's a perfect example where he won big by countering because he got
He
to save
did.
10%.
And it's tricky, and I think part of also what did well for him there was that he was likable. He did counter in a very thoughtful way. He said,
Right.
"Look, I've built this up." It wasn't
It
just
wasn't abrasive. It wasn't.
yes,
Yeah.
and it wasn't just but will you take this? There was a reason behind it. I've already done this. We're already making this. So will you take this?
Good point.
That's a
Good
great
point.
It was whereas sometimes they just go, "Ooh, 30, no thanks. How about 10?" Like
Just
they go
throwing it
way
out.
back. Yeah.
And what's so good
Good
about
point,
that point
good
is that,
point.
like in negotiations with me where I've countered it's been in, not because I was trying to get a couple points here, a couple points there. It was more because, wait a second, the value that I'm bringing to the table is really worth this. And if you got a valid argument for that, and I'm either willing to do it for that or not, then it becomes very easy to negotiate when it's the real deal. You know, so I love that there was validity behind it, and it wasn't abrasive, and it wasn't to try to take advantage or get the best of the deal. It was like, wait a second, I'm bringing a lot of value to the table. I got this. So we're going to do $6 million in sales this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Barbara said too. Okay, so Constance, are you in or out?
Oh, on this one, I would be in.
In.
Me too. I'm in. I think this was our first one tonight that we are unanimously in.
Hey, put it there. Whoa.
Yes, and it will not mess up your hair.
And it won't mess up your hair. You can breastfeed while you run the stand.
As can both of you.
Thank you.
Now, Tour is next. I thought this was a very interesting one. I'm glad
Very
to
much.
talk about it. So I have much that was going through
This
my
was
mind. So
interesting,
Tour Junior was his name. He was asking for $500,000 in exchange for 10%. This is basically a lockbox that both buyers and sellers can use so that you could get into a home for sale absolutely at any time. So if you've looked for homes before, you might know that there's a lockbox on the front. Usually you need your real estate agent to let you in, or you wait for an open house. In this case, you drive by, you see an open house, you just use the app in order to connect with the seller and say, basically, can I get a key to your house? Once they approve you, and you go. So that was the gist of it.
Right.
What
so
were
it's
your
an
initial
interface,
thoughts?
so the agent doesn't have to be there, which is.
Well, yes and no, because he did say you can select
You can
that they
choose,
will only
yeah.
let you in with the agent.
I thought it was interesting because I know that I've looked at places. I've wanted to get in places. Places have had lock boxes on them. I was happy when I could get in with a lockbox, but so I was just kind of letting it roll out and seeing how it progressed. I think the real tangible part that made it worthwhile was when he started to talk about the patent.
Yes.
You know, because it was patent pending on the technology that would open the lockbox on the door from afar. So if you walked up to the house, if you had the app and they gave you permission, you could push the button. It opens up. You have the key. Open up the thing, and then it will also close. What it sounded like to me was that the real proprietary portion of this was the fact that it closed automatically.
And that's what he
Didn't
said.
it?
Yeah.
Because they said, and this is what Chris Sacco was saying. He said, well, you can go and put a key on the lockbox and it will open up. And the guy was saying, but it won't close.
Not a key, like a code, like a
code
scan.
or
Yes,
something like
you
a
can scan
scan.
something, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how valuable the closing aspect of it is, except for, you know, to his point and to his credit once again, the complete automation from afar of locking this key up. I think it's pretty good. I kind of like the idea of people being able to have access. I don't, if I was a house owner on the flip side, you know, you don't know who's trampling through your house and that type of thing, which can get a little weird. And I was thinking of also security issues, and you know, we hear about realtors going in houses and getting raped and all sorts of stuff. No, I'm serious.
I've only heard about that in books.
No, but I mean, you hear about things like that, and like on, you know, the Cold Files and all those crappy television shows late at night. It's like, what could happen? So I was just thinking through all the different possibilities and challenges.
Yeah, I didn't love that aspect either.
Yeah.
The thought of someone just going in. And now I own rental property. And so when I was looking for my last place, I was looking at some houses. Like, I wasn't sure if I was going to wind up. I have an apartment complex. And so I remember looking at one point at a duplex I wanted to see, and the key was gone. So the lockbox was there. My real estate agent opened it, no key, and he tried to call the listing agent, couldn't get anyone on the phone, and he said, at least here in LA, where it's a really hot market, what happens is that people take the keys so that no one else can see the place, and then they can put offers in. So I was thinking also, I wonder if my perspective would be different, not thinking of housing in LA, but thinking of housing in maybe a smaller town or another area where it's not such a hot market, where you wind up with multiple offers on a place.
Or I wonder if, like, you could put down a deposit that, like, it took $100 off your credit card if the key was gone, or it took, you know, something.
But how does
that
it
would be
know?
returned.
That's the thing. Even in this, how does it know the key is being returned? It doesn't.
Well, it could, though. I would imagine that there'd be some sort of sensor inside the box that would know if the key was in there or not.
Yeah,
assuming that works, you could put in a fake key. Like, you could take any key, and once you're gone, you have no way to prove.
There's all sorts of things. And see, there's
so I don't like that, and I don't like if someone were, for instance, looking at my house. I definitely don't want people there without me, and even like if one of my empty places, I would never want someone just walking through. Like, it just, I don't like that.
So a lot of properties, especially the upper income properties, there's a lot of lot of cameras in there. One of my things is I do also host Diggs TV. So
she does. She does houses.
Yeah, I'm in very high-end properties, and I've seen all types of ways to do this, up close and personal. So there usually is a lot of cameras.
It's great. She breaks into these houses and films
Yes,
breaking in.
because
No,
the
that's not
staging
what they do.
itself in some of these houses,
Yeah.
the staging is extraordinary. There's books worth like hundreds of dollars and beautiful white
Hundreds
fluffy
of dollars, probably more than hundreds.
No, but I mean, a book typically costs $20. You know,
Right,
so
like
you're
white
But an
fluffy
expensive book is worth
couches,
hundreds.
Yeah.
and it's really
Right.
very, very special and a lot of beautiful things. So I think it solves a certain problem, and that's why we saw certain people jumping in, because this fits the domain of some sharks.
See,
more than others.
if you had a massive amount of properties, I could see it being pretty valuable to be able to just let people go in and stuff. I also thought that somebody brought up the point that the keys were going to become obsolete.
Yes,
And
Chris.
Chris brought that up. You know, for me, I mean, I hear what he's saying, you know, and it would be great that if we started making doors that you just have some other, you scan your eyeball or something, but
there are, and so here's the other thing. So I have a friend who owns a rental house up in Big Bear,
Right.
and he doesn't have a keyed lock. He has a combo lock that he changes remotely. So every time a renter leaves, he can just change the code. So that's essentially what this is. Then you don't, because after you don't need a lockbox, you just need a code if you're going to do that. So to me, like, I wasn't into this for multiple
Right.
reasons, but I am also curious to discuss Junior. Did you guys feel like the vibes coming from Barbara? She said at the end she wanted to have dinner with him. She was into him.
she was working that.
Everybody was in love with Junior.
No, but Barbara, I hear
She
you.
was really into him.
Barbara, you little minx.
Everybody loved Junior, and Junior was a great, and there's so much to see that he did so well, and how he handled the negotiations as well. He did a great job.
They liked his sales skills.
He was a perfect projection of someone who's very confident without being cocky, very confident and very comfortable and easygoing. Because, you know, sometimes, again, there's a lot of attachment on when you're presenting and when you're pitching. So some people can come off confident and a little bit like hard to, you don't get a warmth. He gave a warmth, a strength, a confidence.
And what was really most impressive about that was when he was handling what one would think of as being objections. But you know, a lot of people go on Shark Tank and they get feedback from the sharks, and they don't know how to handle it. He was handling it with ease and just turning it around. He's like, come on. And he was so powerful in his feet there that they all really appreciated that.
He didn't get adversarial.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But were you surprised at just how much they loved him, and that like so many sharks said this is the best pitch we've ever seen?
I was surprised by
I
that.
was a little surprised.
It
I
was
was
a little
surprised by
excessive because there's great pitches. He was very, very good,
Right.
but they were like, "You're the best salesman."
Yeah.
It's like, we're gonna colonize the moon. I never felt this way before. Like, really?
See, I didn't. There's certain things that I just don't like, and it's just technique things more than anything. I don't like labeling questions when somebody asks a question. I don't like saying, "Well, that's a good question."
Oh, I hate that too.
I hate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that doesn't do it for me.
No.
But I know that some people do, and that's part of the kind of the canned sales approach.
Yeah.
So I wasn't feeling the same way they were. I did really appreciate his ability to be strong on his feet, especially when he was getting blowback from the Sharks because Chris Sacca was really challenging him.
Yes.
And then he came back in.
Evaluation.
Yes,
Yeah.
big time. So he did get an offer. He got multiple offers. So let's see. So Kevin said that he thinks he was asking for too much money, but Kevin said, "I like you, so I will invest." He wanted to do $500,000, but to break it down as $100,000 for 10%, but the remaining $400,000 would be a loan at an 18% interest. Then Mark said he was out. He doesn't know real estate. Chris thought the technology was old. Barbara said she would go in with Kevin. Let's see, contingent on selling the technology to a big chain. Chris was out, but then let's see. I'm sorry, there was a counter, $250,000 for 10% with a $250 line of credit. So was that with Chris? Because I just wrote there was a counter, and now I don't know who to connect that to.
Let's see. There was 10%, 250,000.
Right.
Barbara. Yeah, that was
Chris and Barbara got
together.
I'm sorry.
Wait, no, Kevin.
Oh, Kevin and Barbara.
Kevin, sorry.
Yeah.
Right, okay. And then it wound up being a $200,000.
Yeah, his counter.
Okay, so $200,000 with 10% and $300 as a loan. Okay, so that's where I got lost.
I
in
love
my
to watch
counter
that
there.
interaction, though. I thought that was really a good learning opportunity to see the back and forth. And, way to go for him once again to stand up with a nice, powerful counter that got him a better deal. I mean, he ended up so he countered with $250K for 10% and $50K loan. What they had originally offered, Kevin had offered, was $100K for 10%.
Right.
So he got $150K more free.
No, he
because
got
of the-
100 more.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because
You're
the deal
correct.
at the end was 200.
He got 100
So
more
he got 100 more.
free
Yes.
because he took the time to counter. And it's like, it would have been stupid not to
Yes.
if you could get 100 grand like that. You
Well,
know?
it's so easy for us though also to sit here and say it would have been stupid not to, because how many times then do we see it? We have seen,
Right.
I feel like some of it depends on their mood. Some of it we don't know, of course, what the other 45 minutes of their pitch has been, where they counter and it does seem like a good counter, and then they all start,
And that's life. It goes like that.
So
I mean,
it
in
does.
reality, you could go to an investor and it could be their mood or it could be anything else. You know, it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And
That's true.
Fantasy Stats does agree Barbara was definitely hitting on Junior as
Ah,
well.
see?
So,
The truth comes
I guess
out.
we all picked up on that. So is that our
Yeah.
takeaway for this one?
Hit on the investor?
That
No.
too.
That's what, no, I just like, I think that from my perspective, the tip would be to stick in there, and I'm liking the counter offers in a non-abrasive way.
Yeah. So 2 in a row with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Constance, are you in or out?
I would be actually out.
Okay.
But can we just say something about the
please.
national change? Barbara says she says this is contingent upon getting national
Yes.
deals, and
Right.
that's what we talk to the technology. We're thinking LA, we're thinking doing key codes and optical
Right.
scanning. Across the country, there's a lot of rental properties where this will work beautifully. And she even said this is just a matter of
All those red states.
right. Well, getting all the sales would be a matter of me calling people. So I mean, Barbara
Right.
is just like having Barbara
She's
and
the right
Mr.
person,
Wonderful. It's just like dream team come to life.
I
So
think that was
thought it was
smart to do a
great.
dual deal. Yeah.
Right, right. Because we always sometimes I think we get in this idea that it has to be next generation, but people are going to be using technology for a long time. So.
Absolutely. No matter how obsolete it is, it's still there.
You're saying the deplorables.
So I still have a DVD, so I guess
I still have a VHS at home.
I
Very-
do. I
Because
mess it
I
around.
have some tapes in
I'm a
Japanese that
deplorable,
I
so.
can't replicate, so I have my VCR for my Japanese tapes. So, Chris, are you in or out?
On this one, you know what? I'd have to be out just because I don't understand it enough.
right.
And
Yeah.
for this one, I'm out too. I get that it could work in other situations,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't love it. I think I'm too much of a nervous Nelly about letting people in, which actually goes right into our update, Rent Like a Champion, which we had
Yes.
talked about last season. They're just from last season. They had gotten a $200,000 deal for 10% with a joiner of Mark and Chris together. Basically, this is like Airbnb, except for in college towns specifically, so it centers around specific like college events.
See, really?
And
That's
right
what it
before,
was, huh?
yes, and right before Shark Tank, they had 2.3 million in sales, and in the year, about a year after Shark Tank, they're up to 5.46 million, and they're also doing a lot of like Mark's taking over the back end operations. Chris is taking care of partnerships. For example, they're partnering with the golf tournament, the PGA.
Yeah.
So they are just rocking and rolling, as the expression goes. But I
Right.
wasn't into them before, and I'm kind of not into them now.
Right?
Yeah, 10 million projected sales.
Yeah. No, it looked like they're doing well. So I mean, who can argue and who can complain with that?
No.
It didn't. I was watching it. I didn't really quite get the gist of what it was all about, but I saw that they were doing well.
Yeah.
And they were
Which
having
is-
a
which
tailgate
is
party,
great,
and
yes.
everybody was happy.
Yes, and I loved the cowboy. It's in Alabama, and so I love to see different parts of the country that I don't get to see a lot.
Right.
So I was like, Auburn. I've always wanted to know where and
What
what
the hell's
Auburn.
happening in Auburn?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I just saw the cowboy boots, but there was a great tip from the from Lovely Junior.
Right.
This is a little tip for the guys. If you only have money for one suit, just get one suit, but just make sure it's tailored as well as Junior's suit is.
Yes.
I always say, don't buy more things, buy fewer things, but especially with men with suit, fit is everything. So it doesn't even have to be that great in terms of fabric. Just the fit has to be beautiful. If you see he wore a beautifully fitted suit. So I'm just saying, just focus
Quality,
on
though.
quality. Yeah.
I remember I bought
Just
when I
that's it,
got my first
one.
business loan. I went out and bought a Xenia, like it's a $2,000, $3,000 suit, but I
Dang.
had one, and I wore it for
all
4
you need.
years. It was the only suit that I had.
Right, and Xenia is
Yeah.
actually like a couture or a high-end luxury brand that actually I think deserves the term. The quality matches the price.
Yeah, that's a good-
'Cause
Xenia's a good suit,
Sometimes
yes.
you go, oh, it's an A, B, C, or D,
Right.
like la, George Clooney wears them. But sometimes the level you're paying, of course, for the brand. And sometimes if you do live in a city, there's always the garment districts, and they usually have a men's area where you can go and just find some really great tailors. I want to help
That's true,
people
yeah.
out.
No, it's
So
true.
our tank takeaway for the whole show is basically
Start out
go
so-
get a nice outfit. So
Yeah.
thank you guys so
It
much
makes
for
a difference though if you're in the business environment. It really, really does. And Xenia didn't.
Poor
Xenia
Zoe.
didn't fit me that well, but like it wasn't the perfect fit. Boss actually worked much better for me, and it was a little cheaper.
Find your manufacturers and just go to them over and over again. Zoe loves us. Zoe loves us.
She's like,
We all love you guys. We are having fun, but unfortunately it is time for us to wrap up. So thank you guys so much for joining us once again. I am Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. You can also find me on YouTube at Zoe Hewitt Hosting, where I do a weekly movie analysis show. And sitting to my left.
beautiful. Movies with Zoe is always worthwhile.
Yes.
I'm Chris Howard. Reach me at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram. Also go to legendarylivingdaily.com right now and download that, because you can get everyday tips, inspiration, motivation, business building tips, and go to legendarylivingtv.com for YouTube.
Yeah, you can visit me at Instagram and Twitter, Constance Dunn, and hit me with your style conundrums. I always love to, it's the little things that can just project your most attractive and authentic self to the world.
It's true. She kicks me under the table every time I do something wrong.
I kick him under the table all day long.
Well, we love being beautiful and authentic. Than't you so much for joining us on tonight's Shark Tank.
Beautiful,
We will
authentic.
see you here next week. Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.